Hi.
Lou?
Yes, hi, Danielle. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you. My husband, Art.
Hey, Art.
Hello,
Nice to meet you.
pleasure. Good afternoon.
Come on in.
Thanks so much. Would you like me to take my shoes off?
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. The
Awesome.
dog makes enough of a mess.
Oh, yeah, and who's this?
This is Penny.
Oh, hi,
She's our
Penny.
new puppy.
Oh, she's a sweetie.
Thank you. Come on in. We'll show you around.
Sounds good.
All right, so that's it. Do you want to take a seat and we can run through what you brought?
That'd be great.
Awesome. Right in the dining room, I have some water set up for us.
Okay, thanks. Where'd you like me?
Right on the end there should be fine.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, thanks for the tour.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It's a great home. I think you've done a lot to really personalize it, make it your own. Some nice upgrades here, and yeah, I'm excited to, kind of dive into things with you and show you what the numbers are all about.
Terrific.
Yeah. Art's kind of a jack of all trades, so
Yeah,
he's
we've done a
super
lot of
handy
work.
around here.
So you've done a lot of the work then?
We have, and I think we've definitely increased the value, and we've kind of made it our own and made it our home.
That's great.
For sure.
Yeah, and how long have you lived here now?
We've been here about 7 years, I believe. Is that right?
Actually, it may feel like 7 years. I think it's probably been closer to 12. I mean, most of our children were raised here. We came a little bit later in life, and our, oldest is going off to college, actually.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably been a little longer than we think. I know
It
you get
happens
comfortable.
quick.
Time flies.
It happens quick.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's
So,
amazing how much happens in a home too. I mean, how many holidays, birthdays, everything.
Yes, there's been a lot going on here. So, and that's part of it. We just feel like it's probably time to downsize. It's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
house, and
For sure.
with them going off to college, I feel like might be the time,
Yeah.
especially with this market. We're
Definitely.
hoping to, make some decent money,
Okay.
as I'm sure you can appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a sense for what the home's worth now? Do you kind of have a feeling for?
We kind of have some numbers we're hoping to get, but really we think your opinion is going to lay the foundation
Okay.
for what we move forward with,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm thinking.
Yep.
So we're interested to hear what you have to say.
I'm sure
Sounds
it'll be
good.
a good number.
Yeah, the market's been great in Glastonbury. In the last 3 years, prices have gone up about 37%. I've got a lot of info that I can share with you that I'll get into now. So what I found with listing appointments is there are really 3 things that most sellers care about. It's what's my home worth, how long is it going to take to sell, and what do I actually have to do to get ready to sell.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully the walkthrough that we just did helps with number 3, what do I have to do to sell? We made that must, should, and could list of different repair items.
Yeah.
Again, we want to focus on anything that's like safety, structural, as the must do. So there's that one concern I have about the CO2, vent in the basement. That's the one thing that I'd recommend definitely taking care of.
We have somebody who can come out and look at that, and
Awesome.
then the other stuff on the list. I think you can manage a lot of it. And,
Yeah.
We'll hire out where necessary.
Perfect.
So, okay.
Yep. So our goal is going to be to try to make the home as appealing as possible to as many people as possible. The more people we can get through the front door, the higher the home is going to sell for, which is the goal at the end of the day. We want to sell for the highest amount of money on your time frame.
Definitely.
So I've got some information about the market for you, and we'll start there. Real estate is local, and it's really important to keep that in mind whenever we talk about what's going in the market and the pricing. So on the news, you may have heard that interest rates have slowed down the market significantly. That's true in some parts of the country, but Connecticut has still been hot. And prices are still going up quickly. Yeah, it's pretty surprising. So the first thing I'll direct you to is just that set of graphs that I have in the front.
Okay.
So I want to start by going through the market overall really quickly, and then we'll talk about your house specifically. So like I said, the median sales price for homes like yours is up 37% in the past 3 years and 17% in just the last year. Now this is really specific. This is just for single family homes in Glastonbury
so
within
not the
about
state.
500 square feet of your home.
Okay.
Exactly. If you look at other parts of the state, you might find that number's lower or higher. What's important is that we're pricing to the market that we're in right now.
Okay.
What we found over the years is that buyers really tend to know what homes are worth. They put their own value on it, of course, but with all these different platforms that publicly advertise listings, things are different than, the old days where you used to kind of sit down with a binder of listings in an agent's office. All that info is available at the fingertips.
Yeah, sure.
So pricing is really, really important to get correct this time. What we found is that pricing at the market value is the best way to actually get over market value. And I'll explain why that works in a second. We'll go through that with these graphs. So this is what's going on generally with sales price. Sales price within real estate is always function of two factors, the supply and demand.
Okay.
Just like any market, just like the stock market, the more people that want the stock, the higher the price will go. It's the same thing for a home. So I like to look at both sides of the equation to try to figure out where's the market headed and if we're still going to be in kind of a higher price environment or not. So this first graph we have is the month supply of homes for sale. Now this is a 3-year graph, and you can see that it's dropped significantly over the last 3 years, and it's stayed low. So typically a balanced market is somewhere between 5 or 6 months of inventory. Right now we're sitting at about 1.5 to 2 months of inventory. What that means is if no other homes came on the market, it would only take 1.5 or 2 months to sell all the inventory.
Wow.
This is exactly what we are talking about when we say we're in a seller's market, because the market is extremely favorable to sellers right now. Because the lower supply of homes and the more people buying, obviously the higher prices would go.
Okay.
So supply's been low and has stayed low for the last couple of years, actually. Okay, so then the next thing we'll do is we'll look at the demand side of the equation. So if you flip the page, you have a graph of the number of showings per listing. And again, this is a 3-year graph. Back 3 years ago, we'd get about 10 showings on average, which is actually pretty high. It's much higher than the pre-COVID market even. That number has gone up, and we're now averaging 16 showings per listing.
Wow.
What's great about that is that number has kind of steadied off and stayed even with these higher interest rates. So there's still a lot of buyer demand based on, the last couple months of data, and we expect that to continue.
Cool.
Yep.
So, I mean, that sounds like good news for us. Not a lot of houses, a lot of people looking.
Exactly. It's great news.
Cool.
Next page is the median percent of last list price. So basically, this is how far over asking price homes are selling. 3 years ago, homes were selling for 100% of list price. They were selling at the number that we listed at. Now, a well-priced home is selling about 104 to 105% of list price.
Oh, wow.
So on a $600,000 home, you can expect a property to sell about 5% over or $30,000 over, assuming that $600,000 is that right number, that is truly the market price.
Okay.
So for example, we'll take a big step back, and without talking about your home's value specifically, we can agree generally that this home probably is worth less than $2 million. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. No one would ever pay $2 million for 2,500 square feet in Glastonbury. It's an awesome school district, great area, but you can get a different type of house, right? So if we listed for $2 million, we're not going to get 105% of that. We do have to be realistic with the actual price that we're going in at.
Okay.
So in the very last sheet is the median days on market. So this answers that question of how long will it take to sell my home. 3 years ago, it took about 25 days for a home to go under contract. Then it's about another month and a half after that to close.
Okay.
In this current market, we're seeing homes go under contract in about 5 or 6 days.
Wow.
Yep. So when you're ready to move, we ask that you be really ready to move, because we'll likely get you under contract in week 1. And then from there, like I said, it's about a 30 to 45 day closing window.
Okay.
Now, as the sellers, you are in control of that timeline. You accept whatever offer you want, and we can negotiate on every single term, including closing date. So let's say you wanted more time to close because you need more time to pack and get
30 days
ready.
is a quick turnaround.
Yes.
We've been here a long time.
Yeah. So about how long, what's ideal for you guys? When would you be looking to move?
I mean, I think we'd need at least 2 months.
Yes, at least 2 months. 2 to 3 months would be.
Now, would you say hold off on listing for a month until we were kind of packed up? Or would you just say list and tell them we just won't close until 60 days?
Great question. So what I'd recommend is that we take a little bit of time, maybe a week or two, to do that prep that we talked about. We'll have our stager come through and give a couple other pieces of advice. Like I said, we're not going to be bringing in a ton of furniture. It's more about moving around what you already have, or maybe changing some paint colors. Small things like that can really impact the sale price and the amount of time that a home takes to sell. But I wouldn't wait, a month or 2 months to get closer to your ideal sale timeline. I wouldn't wait that long to go on the market.
Okay.
I would suggest going on the market and telling people, hey, we want to move by August 15th, for example.
Okay. And you think people will be okay with that? It's not going to drive buyers away, or?
Nope. It's been my experience that people are okay with it when we're in a market with a high demand for this type of house.
Okay.
What I would recommend is let's just be mindful of timing, like holidays and school year is a big one to work with. So I wouldn't recommend closing at the end of August or September, because most buyers for this
Oh, that
home
makes
are going to
sense.
want to be in and settled before the school year starts.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Maybe that's a good goal deadline to keep in mind is the school year.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're right on track for that. We're at the end of May right now. So by the time we take, maybe a week or two to get on the market, we'll be in mid-June, and then we'll be right on pace for that early to mid-August closing.
Cool. Better start packing.
I know.
Got lots of stuff.
Yeah, that is the hardest part of this is the packing up and moving and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's going to be a lot. I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be quite honest, but all right. We'll
It'll
keep
all
that.
be worth it once we're in
Yeah.
our new home.
For sure.
Of course. So what part of that gives you the kind of the most stress or anxiety? Is it like the physical work of packing or the
So I
emotional?
know I mentioned we raised our kids here. So there is the emotional component. I mean, Art was the one who
Yeah.
suggested this meeting, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It really makes me sad, to be really, really honest. This is where the Christmases, the birthdays, the 4th of July's happened. And then to think, all of the work he put in, all of the work I put in, design choices that, you're going to close the door one day and not look back. It's a lot. We have the notches and the woodwork for the heights. And it's just crazy to think that it'll be somebody else's and then we'll be starting from scratch.
Yep. My wife and I went through the same thing when we wrote an offer on a home and we missed out, unfortunately. But going through that whole emotional process of, kind of coming to grips with the fact that you're going to move it's hard. Yeah. For us, we saw it as closing one chapter, which was more of our pre-kid era. We have one son now. But as our family grows, we're looking forward to making those memories somewhere else. And it seems like you're kind of at a bit of a different stage of life where your kids are moving out and you're closing that book and going somewhere else.
Yeah. And it would be nice to downsize, less to care for, more time for us to do things we enjoy rather than really just upkeep on the house. And the yard is huge here. So
yeah, it's a lot of work.
I think it's the right move. It's just, you've got to emotionally process it for sure.
Definitely. That's a challenging part that I can't do too much to help with. What I definitely can help with is the physical part of moving. We work with a couple great
stuff.
I know. We work with a couple great moving companies who will do the packing for you, not just the moving out of the house.
Actually,
Pack the boxes, the whole thing.
every dish in a box.
Every dish wrapped up in a box. Better than I would do it, at least.
Wow.
I never even considered that.
Yeah, and they're pretty reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that would definitely take some pressure off, allow me to keep working, and I never thought about it. Maybe we'll look into it as an option.
Great. Yeah, I'll give you a couple names when we wrap up here.
Cool.
Great.
Awesome. So then the next thing I want to do is get into detail about your home specifically.
Okay.
And that's what most people really care about. So we'll spend a little bit more time here. So this packet is called the Comparative Market Analysis, or CMA for short. And what the CMA is, you may have heard of the term comps before. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Similar houses, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So these are similar houses that have sold within the last year or so. They're all colonials in Glastonbury, plus or minus 500 square feet of your home size. So they're extremely similar, and they make a really good benchmark for your home. Now the thing is, there are no two homes that are the same. So we need to make some adjustments to other homes to make them match yours, and that's exactly what a CMA does.
Okay.
Some agents will take just a broad swatch of the market, they'll average out the sale price, they'll come up with $1 per square foot that sold, multiply that by square footage and give you a number. That's not the best way to do this. This approach is just like what an appraiser does. Now, I'm not a licensed appraiser, so I can't call it that, but it's the exact same process, which is helpful to have this information when I go to meet an appraiser and defend the value of your home.
Okay.
So the first page has just a general map of Glastonbury and the comparable sales, and you can see the prices and dates that the different properties sold for. Second page has a table of all the different comps that we use and the adjustments that we made. So your property is always going to be on the left-hand side of the page here, and then you have 2 comps that are on the right. In total, I came up with 7 comps. I looked at dozens of homes to find the ones that are most similar.
Okay.
I found the 7 that are closest, and then I made small adjustments to them to match your property financially. So, to give you an example, your home is a 3-bedroom house. Some of the comps have 4 bedrooms. A standard adjustment that an appraiser would make in this price range is $15,000 per bedroom.
Okay.
So, a home that has 4 bedrooms, let's say it sold for $650,000, we'd subtract $15,000 from that, and that brings the price down to $635,000. Think of it like we're taking a bedroom away.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's not like the literal construction cost of what a bedroom is, but it's just the value that an appraiser puts on it. And that's based on market data.
Okay.
So all this stuff is based on like real-time market data of what's happening here right now.
And those adjustments are pretty standard. Like almost every appraiser is going to say a bedroom's worth $15,000.
Yeah, for the most part. For things like square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, there are a couple areas that get a little bit subjective, like location appeal and condition appeal. So they'll make a percentage adjustment for how closely your home matches or doesn't match sort of the middle of that bell curve, like I said, where like the main buyer pool is. And you'll see that within this CMA as well. I made some adjustments where there are homes that have different condition than yours.
All right.
Yep. So I have your home survey here. Thank you for completing that and sending a couple of pictures. That helps give me a sense for, your home's condition appeal. So it helps me prepare this market analysis. So I figured we could look at just a couple of these.
Sure, yeah.
I'll leave the whole thing for you, but I just want to kind of explain the strategy here, the format, and then if you want to dig in further, you can.
Okay.
All right?
Cool.
Nice.
All right, so we'll look at just a couple of these just to show you, kind of how the process works.
For sure.
I'm going to leave all this information with you. So the first one we'll look at is 374 Old Stage Road. Are you familiar with this property?
That's the one that sold, it's a couple streets down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about a quarter mile away, similar size, square footage. It went on the market in February, so a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it just closed in April for $665.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's great.
Okay,
So they went on the
nice.
market at $589 and sold well over. Again, kind of in line with that pricing strategy we talked about of pricing at the market and then letting buyer demand push the home up well
Okay.
over the price.
Love it.
So, like I said, no two homes are the same, and we have to make a couple of adjustments to their property to make it match yours financially. So this property does have a fourth bedroom, so we subtract $15,000 from that price. It has 2 extra full bathrooms, so we subtract $15,000
Like this
per.
direction that we're going.
I know, but
Okay,
there's some
all right,
credits
keep
coming
going,
your way.
Keep going.
You guys have a half bath that they don't, so
Okay.
we add back about $7,500 for that. And then most importantly, your home is larger by about 500 square feet. So there's a credit that's applied of about $35 a square foot. So that's another $13,000 in your favor. And your home has nicer condition appeal overall.
Okay.
So you have hardwood floors throughout, a nice updated kitchen, and they kind of have more of a retro type style, as you can see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So in
like
this
the old-
particular case, exactly.
Okay.
So this hasn't really been updated, and it's not really that middle part of the bell curve like we talked about. And so I've added 5% of the home sale price to its value to kind of add more condition appeal to make it match your home, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does.
Yep. So when all is said and done, their sale price was $665. We subtracted $33,000, so that comes out to a net of $632,000.
Okay.
Now that's just one number and just one data point. The accuracy of the CMA comes from looking at multiple homes and then averaging them, and we get a range. From the range, we then come up with the list price. They're kind of two different numbers we're going to talk about.
Okay.
There's list price, which is a marketing strategy, and then there's home value, which is cash money in your pocket.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So look at one more really quickly. We'll look at 445 Foot Road. So similar type of setup. This property has 4 bedrooms. It has an extra full bath, but you have the half bath.
Yeah.
So we've got some offsetting credits there. Your home's also a little bit larger than this one. It's about 300 square foot bigger, so we're crediting about $8,000, $9,000. This home is a little bit more modern. It is a little bit more updated. And you can see that they've gone ahead and updated the kitchens, the bathrooms,
Yeah.
and most importantly, this home has really strong condition appeal to it. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac. It's on a quiet street where you're on a little bit of a busier road.
Yeah.
So in general, people are going to prefer to be in more of a neighborhood setting than on a busier road. So because of that, I've subtracted 5% from their sale price to make that home match yours financially. So that home sold in the high 6s, and we subtract about $50,000, and that came out to $643.
Okay.
So you'll notice generally that homes are selling over what they're listed for. So that home we just talked about on Foot Road was listed for $649,900 and it sold for $700,000. So it went $50,000 over asking price.
Okay.
104 Old Farms was listed for $599,900 and they sold for $650,000. They also went $50,000 over asking price.
Okay.
Now it's not a guarantee, but that sort of is what the trend is in this price range. that when homes are priced competitively, they must have gotten multiple offers to push the price up that high.
Okay.
If we flip the page, you'll see a summary and a price recommendation. If you go forward in your packet.
Here's the big number.
And so here's the big number. This is the big reveal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I said, the accuracy of the CMA comes from the average of all the comps.
Yep.
And when I average out all of the comps, the average list price comes in at $623,000. Now, that's more of the value right now based on sales that closed 3, 6, 9 months ago.
Okay.
The problem with a CMA and with an appraisal is it's like driving your car and looking in the rearview mirror. But we sell homes today in today's market, and we need to look through the windshield.
Yeah.
We can use this info as kind of supporting data. Some appraisers will recognize that trend, that values are up 17% year on year, about 1.5% per month, and some won't. The best thing we can do is price competitively and get multiple offers, which is excellent support for an appraisal and for puts us in a strong position negotiating wise to be able to get you the highest price possible.
Got it.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts first off on the value?
So I know we said we really wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have our own conversations, and I'll be honest, 650 was really the number that we said we weren't going to list for less than.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard what you said, and I agree, it all makes sense. My thinking is if everything is eventually going over asking price, why risk it and start lower? Why not just list at the 650 and maybe even we'll get over that?
Yep. So it's possible. The issue is that we could be narrowing our buyer pool. People typically set their searches in $50,000 increments. So this is where you might hate me. Don't throw me out of the house.
Okay.
But I would actually recommend listing at $599,900 or $600. That way we hit everybody who's looking at 600 and below. That buyer typically has money to pay over $600,000, but their starting price in their mind psychologically they want to be at or below 600. And we've got some comps that show that that strategy has worked in this market.
I just feel like the people, so if we take that strategy, then maybe we're appealing to people who can't even afford our price. Like if we really want 650 and you're appealing to people who are looking in the 600s, are we just going to get a bunch of people who want to come through here and in the end they really can't afford the house?
Honestly, you will get some people that will come through and can't afford the house.
Okay.
But that's a good thing because you'll have a lot of showings and showing time. So when agents go to book and they see 20 other showings,
Okay.
they'll know the property's hot and in demand.
Okay.
When we host a open house and we have dozens of parties coming through, there's this big buzz and excitement about the home and people don't want to lose out on a property they love. So honestly, yeah, some of those buyers may not be qualified, but the ones that are going to go really strong and they're going to put their best foot forward with an offer.
I mean, if we take your strategy and do the 599.9, or forgive me, I can't remember the exact number you said, what's the guarantee we get to the 650, at least 640 that we really need to make this make sense?
Yep. What's most important to you? Is it the sale price or the walkaway number? Have you run those numbers yet?
So I know there's commission and closing costs that we have to factor in, but I'm going to be honest, when you see houses, it seems like we're just in an up, up, up. We want to sell in that up, 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 and we want to take advantage of these high prices. So
Yep.
the most we can get is really what's most important.
Okay.
Kids in college, I would love to retire someday. That's the goal. So I don't want to leave money on the table.
Of course. And this home is kind of your nest egg and it's where you
Yeah,
have a lot of
for
your
sure.
value, of course. So the strategy truly, there is no guarantee of where the market will go within a month, a year, 3 years from now. But if you remember the graphs that we looked at, everything was showing that there's still low supply and high demand for
Yeah.
homes. So it is definitely reasonable to expect that we'll continue to see this trend where homes like yours will sell over asking or over the market value as long as we're pricing competitively.
Okay. You're the expert, right? So we always want to rely back on what you say. And if you really think that's the strategy that gets the most people in here and gets us the highest price in the end, I can see where it makes sense. Like I said, I don't want to leave anything on the table.
No, I
That's
totally get it.
our biggest concern.
I've got a couple of examples for you, if you don't mind me showing them. So I'll pull up 47 Sage Meadow in Tolland, and that's just down the road. Bit of a different home. We listed that home for $650,000, and we ended up selling it for $752,000.
Wow.
The comps supported a price of in the high sixes or low sevens. It was about 710. It was about the best that I thought we would end up doing. But we sold the home for $750,000. We got 9 offers. We had 25 showings and about 30 people come through the open house. So I had great information when I met with the appraiser. What I do is I print out the offers that we got. I have an offer summary sheet. I showed them that we got a 752, a 750, a 735, and a 720. So I showed a lot of support for prices above what was in the CMA even. And I may have pulled the price in the CMA up a little bit. And the house actually appraised at $752,000.
Wow.
Now, there's no guarantee that it would have.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to get my seller some extra insurance, I negotiated a $20,000 appraisal gap coverage. Are you familiar with the appraisal gap coverage?
It's like if the bank says it's not worth what you're paying for it kind of thing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's say that the appraisal came in at $735,000 and I negotiated a gap of $20,000. My people were guaranteed to get that $752,000 that was on the purchase contract.
Because it was less than 20.
Exactly. The gap was less than $20,000.
Okay.
Now, I was able to negotiate and get that gap coverage because I had 8 other offers. So I could go to the strongest offer who had the best price, the best terms, and say, everything looks good here, except I want to ensure that my clients are going to maximize their sale price. Would your client be open to a $20,000 difference? And I shared with that buyer's agent everything I do to defend the appraisal price. Exactly how I present the information. You'd be surprised. Some agents don't even meet the appraiser at the property. They'll just give them the lockbox code and they'll go in.
Okay.
It's insane.
Okay.
You know, the buyer agent communicated that back to their buyer, and they wanted the house so badly that they had no problem with the concept of paying $20,000 over what the appraiser thought the home was worth.
Makes sense. I want to make sure that we are getting the maximum amount of eyeballs on it as possible. I know you mentioned an open house. Is that like your main strategy, or is there?
We do a ton. So I'll share with you some of our marketing information in the next packet.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to jump ahead. If
No,
you
it's
had
okay.
more. Okay.
No, this is great. So this is our home seller guide. Brook Team is the largest team in Connecticut by transaction count. Last year, we helped over 500 families move, and we've been selling 500 to 700 homes for the last several years. So we've gotten really good and really dialed in at this process. So in this packet, there's a lot of information. I'll just give you the quick overview. At the beginning, you have the mission and the team overview. We have 55 agents on our team right now, and our mission is providing excellence to every single home buyer and seller that we encounter, whatever their goal is. If that's a fast sale, or maximizing profit, or both, we want to work to get you exactly what your goal is.
Okay.
Here you can see our numbers. You can see a number of awards that our team has won, as well as our brokerage eXp Realty. eXp is a national brokerage. We're actually in 24 countries, and we have over 90,000 agents. And we are the number one, the largest brokerage by transaction size.
Wow.
Not only is Brook Team the largest team by transaction count, our brokerages too nationally.
Okay.
Wow.
So we have a really strong network, and we can do a lot of things that other brokerages can't. For example, we have an off-market app called eXp Exclusives, which lets me market a property directly to the brokerage before it's put on the MLS publicly. There's some rules about how a home can and can't be marketed, and this is an extra advantage for some sellers.
What's the benefit?
It depends. So there are some sellers that really value privacy, and they prefer not to have all the publicity of an open house. And exactly. There are other sellers that prioritize a quick close or cash sale, and so they're not as worried about maximizing the sales price like you guys are.
Yeah.
And in your case, I wouldn't recommend selling off market. I don't think that's the best strategy to meet your goal, just selling for the most money possible.
All right.
This page tells you a little bit about our team. It kind of breaks down selling essentials, support systems, and support staff. Essentials, this is like the basic stuff that everybody does, most agents I should say. The support systems give a little bit more insight into some of the systems that we have behind the scenes, including our support staff, which do things like actively prospect for buyers for your home. We push your home out to 290 different websites. So we're not just on the MLS
Wow.
and Zillow.
I thought there was Zillow and Realtor. Is that?
You're on there too.
Okay.
Those are 2 of 290.
Wow.
Yeah, and we spend about $40,000 per month with Zillow. So our listings get a ton of publicity. We're a Zillow Premier agent.
Okay.
Yep. We have 14 steps to sell, and these are steps beyond just the typical ones. Most agents do the 3 Ps of real estate. They'll put a sign in the yard, they'll put it on the MLS, and they'll pray it sells. We do all of that plus a whole lot more.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of reverse prospecting, for example?
I haven't. No, I'm sorry.
It's a pretty cool strategy, and a lot of agents haven't even heard of it.
Okay.
I can go into your listing, and see what agents have your property in their buyer's home search. I can pull that list of agents and message them directly. I can email them, text them, call them to drive interest to your
If
property.
my house is a good fit for a buyer, essentially you can reach out to that agent.
Exactly. And so we kind of know some back-end information without anybody really telling us.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. Now layer on top of that targeted Facebook ads, Google ads. Yes, we do open houses. We do a ton to promote open houses. All of that adds up to helping sell your home faster and for more money. We have a database with over 50,000 past, current, and future clients, and our homes get sent out there. We also push through various social media channels. We have CRMs and AI that works leads for us in the background. Part of our support staff is an inside sales associate whose whole goal is to drum up buyer leads and help to market and sell our listings.
Cool.
Yep. So I mentioned some of the off-market solutions that we have. We'll skip over this page. This doesn't really apply to you guys, but just know that that would be an option for you. And then the next page walks you through the road to get sold. So this is the process.
Okay.
Deep breath. So know that you have some time to prep and pack.
Okay.
You're not getting kicked out of your home tomorrow. This will hopefully help to spell out the timeline and give a little bit of clarity to exactly what needs to happen in what order to get you where you want to go.
Okay.
So it all starts with the seller consultation and setting strategic pricing, which we're doing right here, right now. I'll then connect you to our listing coordinator, Sarah. She handles all the details to get your listing active and live. So she'll coordinate with a photographer, a sign company. She'll get the lockbox out here. She'll schedule the stager to give that complimentary consultation.
Those things, I hate to interrupt you, the staging, the lock boxes, the photos, are we paying for each of those things?
No, absolutely not. That's all included in the commission.
So it's not like add-on
No.
per diem?
No.
Okay.
Some agents do that, and they have kind of the extra fine print in there. We don't do that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So Sarah will kind of coordinate all the marketing efforts, gather everything, send it to me. I'll review it and approve it or make changes. Then the listing goes to you for approval. And then you give the final sign off and say, we're good to go in the market, or we'd like to make some updates and changes.
Okay.
We'll consult with you before that. We'll make sure that we know everything that you love about the home, and we'll bake that into the listing as well.
Okay.
So we have professional photography for every single one of our listings. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in the future. So after we connect you to the listing coordinator, we'll work on some of that home prep. Like I said, the connections with the stager. Then once everything is ready, once you approve the listing, we'll go live on the market.
Okay.
What I like to do is go live on the market on a Thursday and hold back showings until Thursday afternoon or Friday morning to build some anticipation.
Okay.
Host an open house on Saturday or Sunday, and have an offer deadline of Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll collect all the offers and go through them on Monday and review and choose the best one.
Okay. And does it have that coming soon? We've seen that on Zillow when we're like looking at houses. Some say they're coming soon, but they don't show us pictures. Are we going to do that, or?
Realtors are kind of split decision on it.
Okay.
My personal feeling is I prefer not to do coming soon status, because I think we're in this era of I want it and I want it now. We have kind of that prime right now culture.
That's why Amazon shows up here every
single day,
afternoon.
right? Yeah, it's on my houses too.
Yeah.
Even things that you don't need tomorrow show up tomorrow.
Still show up. Yeah.
So it's been my experience in working with a lot of buyers that when a property is coming soon, they're excited, they want to see it right away, but they can't. It's on the market for 2 weeks without being on.
Oh,
You get
so
a couple
they fizzle
exterior
a little?
pictures. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can go on the market, I'd say no earlier than Wednesday to stretch it a little bit if you want to get a little bit more exposure, and hold back showings until Friday That way people can still,
little anticipation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So it all comes down to really what your preference is in terms of when you're okay with excited buyers driving by and looking at the house and that kind of stuff. Because you will get some drive-bys at the beginning, and that's all part of building anticipation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So we'll blast out as many showings as we possibly can. We'll hold an open house. Like I said, we'll set that offer deadline. And then we work through the terms of the contract that we've agreed to. So some offers will come in with inspection terms, other ones will waive inspections. If a buyer has an inspection clause, typically that happens within about a week or so of going under contract. We'll work through any, conversations that need to happen there if they want some small repairs or credit. That's another negotiation. It's another reason why it helps to have multiple offers. In case of that property that had 9 different offers, it's in an area that has crumbling foundations, which you may or may not be familiar with.
Yep.
The buyer on that property waived every single inspection except for the crumbling foundation. So they gave us assurance that as long as everything looked good with the foundation, they'd move forward with the purchase of the property. It's not a perfect home. There's no such thing as a perfect home.
Yeah.
That one was like 20, 30 years old. So there was some deferred maintenance. The roof was getting a little bit older. It wasn't leaking. If it was, we would have fixed it beforehand. But there were some things that frankly weren't as appealing about the home. So it made a lot of sense for us to accept an offer that didn't have an inspection contingency.
Okay. Quick question. If we put a Sunday offer deadline and don't get offers, do we look stupid then staying on the market?
We'll withdraw that Sunday deadline.
Okay.
I had that happen one time, and it was with a property in a very low sales volume area. It was an expensive home in a market that didn't have a lot of buyers.
Okay.
So I will admit that I made a mistake there and I read things wrong.
But
And
you
we
don't
put
think here that would be an issue?
Oh, definitely not. Even that home still sold in 3 weeks.
Okay.
It just didn't sell in 5 days. But when we look at that level of demand, that homes are selling, we have 1.5 months of inventory, and that homes are selling in about 5 days. I'm not concerned about that at all.
Okay. All right. I just don't want to look silly in the end.
Totally understand. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I've made that mistake before, and that's why I'm so thorough on all of the data. Data drives decisions for me.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So we'll have the home inspection. If there's a mortgage, you'll have an appraisal, and that is a third party that the bank hires that comes out and looks at the home and they assess the value of the property. Now, like I said, similar to my CMA, there's some things that are fixed.
Yep.
They know a bedroom is worth $15,000 in this price range. There are some subjective elements like condition appeal and location appeal. So when I meet an appraiser, my goal is to show them the house and show it in the most favorable light, talk about what buyers have loved about it, try to downplay some of the negatives about it. For example, the road is less appealing. So I'm not going to schedule the appraisal at 5 o'clock on a Thursday when people are commuting. Exactly. We'll do it during the middle of the day.
Would it make sense for us to be here as well so we can point out, all the work Art's done, the upgrades that we've made? Like I've made some really kind of nice design choices and things like that. Does that help with extra, 5% appeal that we can get added?
Great question. What's really helpful is to tell us all that info up front when we're building the listing. And I saw a lot of it too while we walk through now. So it's best for us to communicate to them as professionals and be able to kind of speak the language and the lingo that they're most comfortable with without us getting kind of, pulled into some of those side conversations that might come up.
Okay. All right. So it's best if we're not here at all.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yep.
Gotcha.
Once we clear the appraisal and we have mortgage commitment, then we'll get to a day or two before closing. The buyer will schedule a final walkthrough. And the whole purpose of that final walkthrough is to make sure that the property is in as good or better condition than it was when they went under contract. It's usually a quick walkthrough. They also want to make sure that you're not leaving any stuff behind. We have a whole set of videos that will help prepare you for that final walkthrough to make sure that we hit everything perfectly and we get to closing smoothly.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Any questions on the process?
I don't think so.
Pretty clear.
Yeah.
You made it very clear and concise.
Certainly detailed. I think the price is really the biggest thing for us. We would have to talk about it, but I think it makes sense to put our trust in your past experiences at this point. I think we've reiterated a few times that we really want as much as possible for the property. So if you can keep that goal in mind, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's always the goal on the sales side, is to maximize the price for the client. And I have a fiduciary duty to do that. When we sign a listing agreement, it puts me to work for you, but it also makes it so I legally have to represent your best interest. And your best interest is selling the home for as much money as possible.
Okay. Well, that's a little peace of mind for
Yeah.
sure.
The next page actually does address why pricing is important too. So these are statistics that come from the National Association of Realtors. And this graph basically breaks down the percentage of potential buyers who will look at a property based on the percentage of asking price. So you could see, for example, if you price a home 15% above the market value, then only about 10% of buyers will look at a home. If we go down a little bit, when you price a home at market value, 60% of the buyer pool will look at the property. If you're 10% below value, then you have 75% of the buyer pool, etc. So to your point before, of if we price low, if we price at 600, where we really think the value is more like 625, 630, will we get people who are unqualified to buy the home? Yes, but we'll also get everybody above them that is qualified. And my goal is pushing as many bodies through the door as possible to drive that little bit of a buyer frenzy.
Okay. I mean, is there some type of prerequisite for getting into the house?
Yes, I'm so sorry, I should mention that.
Okay.
Buyers that come through should be pre-approved by a qualified lender.
Okay.
Now, this is really the buyer's agent's job, and smart buyer's agents are going to spend time with their buyers up front so they understand their financial situation. They'll connect them with a lender who will run their credit, they'll look at their income. Now, there are different levels of detail that lenders and buyer's agents go in with that.
Okay.
So, in general, the people that come through the door are going to be qualified, the vast majority.
Okay.
But there's no guarantee that every Harry, Dick, and Sally that comes through the open house has $650,000 to buy your home.
Not a perfect system.
Exactly.
Okay.
Before we accept any offers, actually, before we even look at offers, before they go to you, I make sure that we have a pre-approval letter from a lender for every single buyer.
Okay.
So the offers that I present to you are all from bona fide and qualified buyers.
Okay.
We'll discuss the offers and all the pros and cons. I'll put together a nice spreadsheet for you. And once we've zeroed in on an offer that we like the most, I'll call the lender and I'll ask them a series of questions to vet out their level of detail with their underwriting and their pre-approval process.
Okay.
The most important thing to me is making sure that we get you the best offer and that it gets to the closing table. It doesn't do us much good to sign a really nice, attractive offer if the buyer can't buy it at the end of the day. So that's why me calling that lender and kind of having a conversation is so important.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So that's a little bit more info on pricing. This page simply goes into a little bit more of like the specifics to when you're on the market, what happens exactly when you're live. I'll leave this for you to review. We're getting into kind of a lot of detail here, and the following page has a lot of detail. These next 3 pages are the 160 steps or so that a listing agent and listing team takes to sell a home. Certainly not going to sit here and read this whole list unless you want me to.
Nope.
But yeah, most people just say, okay, I'll look that over at another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into that, and that's why it's important to have a team that, kind of supports me. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's an overview of the market, the pricing of your home, and how we sell so many homes. Look at the left side of your binder quickly. In the left side of the packet, you have a couple different graphics. First one on top is just a simple graphic that's a representation of that home sales process. This one's really helpful just to put up on your fridge so you have a nice overview that you can refer back to at any time. Of course, you can call me or text me at any time. I'm giving you a big overview on a lot of information right now. As we go through the transaction, as every step unfolds, I'll rehash all of this information, relevant to that step that we're at that time.
Okay.
This is kind of like the life cycle of a sale though.
Perfect.
And then the next page has our steps to sell. And this is sort of a timeline for us to define our listing strategy and kind of pick out the dates for all of those different things like photography and staging.
Sure.
So earlier we talked about moving sometime in August. Does that still sound like it'd be enough time for you to prep and get on the market?
I think, yes. I think we are comfortable going on the market before then we just don't really probably want to be told we need to move until early to mid-August.
Okay.
If that's manageable.
Definitely. So we'll put that in the agent remarks. I'll put that with the offer submission instructions that you prefer moving date somewhere between the 7th and the 15th of August.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, great. So then we'll back into that date then. So this is just a nice timeline that's helpful for for your fridge as well. So today we are reviewing and signing listing paperwork. So you can go ahead and put in today's date, which is, perfect. I'll connect you with the listing coordinator right when I leave here. So that's the same date. And then we'll schedule that complimentary home prep appointment. Like I said, we like to have a stager out to kind of come and just give some advice on really, really small tweaks that will help your home sell for more money faster. And would it be okay if they come sometime next week?
I think that's fair. Yeah, the Friday. Yes, I do think that would work.
Okay, awesome. So let's put down next Friday's date.
Okay.
We'll target sometime probably towards the middle or end of the week. Okay. Don't worry about your home being and looking perfect at that point in time. Her job is to help you get it to be perfect.
Okay.
So there's no judgment on anything. You got laundry on the floor or whatever, like she does not care. She's there to look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
After that, we will get quotes and look at any contractor work. You can just cross this one out. I don't see any massive work here. Art, you've done a great job with the updates and the work on the property. So that isn't even relevant to our prep plan here. Professional photography, I usually like to do about a week or so after the staging appointment. I imagine she won't have a ton of feedback for us. It's possible that she may recommend painting a room that has wallpaper or something like that. Art, is that something you think you'd be able to do within about a week's time?
I think so. Now, they'd be coming out twice, the photographer, the first time to let us know what they recommend us correcting, and then the second once we have corrected those items.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, so the home stager will come through and give recommendations while she's there. She'll write up a report and send it to both of us with some of the suggestions, help make the home more appealing.
Yeah.
And then once those are done, then we'll have the photographer come in to get professional photos, which then go on the MLS and those 290 websites.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
Let's
be
do it.
cleaning that week.
Let's do it.
Lots of cleaning.
That usually is a pretty active week for most people. That is where your house does need to look perfect.
Oh my goodness.
Let's do it.
But our goal is to have it prepped, looking perfect, and only have to be that way for about a week or two.
Okay.
So we'll do photos
that.
by that Saturday, and then we'll look to go on the market the following Thursday.
Wow. All right.
It's happening.
It's happening.
So
it's about a 2.5 or a 3 week period of time to go through and do all the prep. Trust me when I say you can do this. You don't have too much work ahead of you. That's part of why we have a team behind us. If along the way you find that you do need some extra support, like let's say that you don't have time to paint because something happens and life comes up, I've got 3 really good painters that I could refer to you that could come in here and do the job quickly. We work with a lot of contractors and give a lot of people business. They do tend to prioritize us when we need things done quickly.
all right.
Yeah.
I'm still interested in hearing more about those movers because
Yes.
that sounds very nice.
Yeah, that's a godsend. I'll be honest, it does make the whole process a lot easier. Listing preview will go out to you probably about Tuesday of that week before. And like I said, we'll go on the market on that Thursday.
All right.
Beautiful.
Sounds good. I will hang on to this so we know kind of what dates we need to stick to there.
So that last page there explains the listing paperwork that I'll go over with you now.
Okay.
There are a number of different disclosures that we'll go through quickly. The very first document here is the right to sell a home. So this is the document that puts me to work as your fiduciary, working in your best interest to sell this home, like I said, for the most amount of money possible. The top section of this document outlines how we work together, the obligations that we have to one another. So for example, if you tell me something about your personal situation that could hurt you in a negotiation, I'm not allowed to tell that to any buyers. I wouldn't, that just doesn't make any sense anyway, but this document gives you legal protection that I can't do anything that will hurt your best interest.
Lou can't tell anyone if I decide to leave you.
Just like that. It's our own secret.
Yes, I do have some therapist referrals too.
Oh,
I can make if you need. It also talks about your responsibilities, which is preparing the home, having it be reasonably available for showing.
Okay.
Of course, you want to have the property as available as possible. In fact, I recommend maybe go away for the weekend. That way we can just do showings anytime. The bottom part addresses compensation. And our fee is 6% is the compensation that is then split between both sides. Commission is entirely negotiation in the state of Connecticut. This is actually a hot topic that has come up a lot recently in the national news.
Right?
Exactly. So you may have seen about the settlement from the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah, so I thought isn't it 3% now?
So commission's always been negotiable between the listing agent and the seller and the buyer and their client.
Okay.
What this lawsuit did was it kind of put that issue in a bigger national spotlight. There are a number of realtors who aren't as thorough as we are and don't go through all the paperwork and haven't explained that commissions are negotiable. A part of the lawsuit said that commissions were no longer allowed to be advertised publicly on the MLS because an argument was made that home prices were artificially inflated because a standard of 2.5% commission to the buyer's agent has sort of been the practice for the last 40 years or so.
So it was like built in
Exactly.
price you were paying. Okay.
Which is the same as if you go to buy a car, the compensation for that car salesperson is also built into the price of the car. But this really is kind of more a result of agents not doing their job and properly explaining things to people that it became a bigger issue.
Okay.
Now, compensation is entirely up to you to determine. Like I said, the commission that we recommend is 6%, which is then split 2.5% to the buyer side and 3.5% to the seller side. And that pays for everything. Pays the brokerage EXP, Brook team, my compensation, the stager, photography, $40,000 a month on Zillow. All of that stuff is baked into that price. It also covers compensating a buyer's agent. And I definitely recommend doing that, even though you don't have to. Like I said, you never had to. But here's the reason why.
Okay.
We want buyers, right? We want as many buyers as possible. The people that have buyers are buyer's agents. Buyer's agents should show whatever home a client wants to see, no matter what compensation is offered. But I hate to say it, humans are humans, and they do look out for what their best interest is. And what I've seen in the past with 1% buyer commission, that those homes don't tend to get as much attention as homes where sellers are compensating 2.5%.
Okay. So if the buyer's agent is getting 2.5, doesn't that mean you're getting 3.5?
Yep, exactly.
And is that standard? I really thought 2.5 to 3 was the standard there.
Yeah, it's all negotiable. I mean, for total commission, anywhere between 4 and 7 or 8% is typical.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there are absolutely brokerages that will put your home on the MLS for $500. Maybe they come through and take pictures with their camera phone. Maybe they make you do that. It all depends. This is about investing in the best marketing possible to sell your home for the most amount of money. When I sell flips, I flip about 2 to 3 homes per year. Every single flip I sell, I offer 2.5% to the buyer side to compensate and bring as many people as I can through the door. What I found is that 2.5% usually ends up getting me 5, 7, 10% over list price. So I'm earning several multiples of that amount on the back end.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Is all of this really worth it in the bottom line of what we're going to get in the end?
Absolutely.
Like, you think this package and your commission and everything you offer that's above and beyond what somebody else is offering equates to dollars for us?
It does, definitely. I've sold over a dozen of my own properties, and this is exactly what I do. And this has yielded me the most amount of profit that's possible on each one of those sales. I've also helped dozens, if not hundreds, of clients on the list side by now. And like I said, we've really dialed in that process. Because this isn't just, Lou Raven's great ideas and listing homes.
Yeah.
It's Brook Team, which collectively has hundreds of years experience between 55 agents who sell 500 to 700 homes per year.
Okay. I mean, I've always kind of been a believer in you get what you pay for. So
That's right.
I understand, if you bring the value you say you bring, it makes sense, especially because we want that higher price. So, okay. Makes
Great.
sense.
So that's the compensation portion. Here you'll see that there's a $250 transaction coordination fee and just some verbiage that states that some documents like the commission statement can be released to attorneys. That just helps us be able to do our job.
Okay.
And do you have video surveillance on the property, video and audio?
I mean, we have a Ring doorbell, and then, no, I think that's it, right?
think that's it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to check off that you do have video and audio surveillance,
Okay.
and then initial the bottom of the page. And then on the next page, you'll find just a couple other disclosures. There's a non-discrimination statement that states that it's unlawful to discriminate against anybody for any reason.
We don't care who buys it as long as
Exactly.
the money's
And there's a statement about federal lead laws. Now, your home was built prior to 1978, so it's highly likely that there could have been lead-based paint at some time. But do you have any formal knowledge of that? Have you done a lead-based paint inspection?
We have not.
Okay,
No.
great. No, it's not. So there's a disclosure that you'll see in here that asks if you've done an inspection for lead-based paint and what the findings are. This statement simply talks about the importance of disclosing that information if you have it and complying with federal lead laws.
Okay.
We'll go through that disclosure in a moment. And at the end here, you'll see a paragraph called Execution by Electronic Methods. That paragraph gives us the ability to e-sign documents and send them back and forth that way.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right,
Just sign here.
just sign a date there.
Perfect.
And Art, are you in the title for the property as well?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So if you could please initial where Danielle initialed as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then the last couple things, I'll leave these with you. I'm going to send them to you digitally, but I just kind of have them for example's sake. These are the required disclosures when you sell a home.
Okay.
So basically what these documents are, they're you disclosing to the best of your knowledge what's good, bad, and ugly about your home. So for example, do you happen to know the age of your roof?
That's a you question.
12 years.
Okay, awesome. So you'll put that down on the paper where it asks for the age of the roof, and have you had any leaks recently with the roof?
We have not.
Awesome. So that's great. Your roof is in the first half of its useful life, so it's extremely beneficial for a buyer to know that when they're reviewing their disclosures prior to submitting the offer.
Okay.
Got it.
So you basically will go through there and fill out information to the best of your knowledge. We post that on MLS. Buyers agents and their clients will review that. Hopefully before the showings. I go through it before every showing, but at a minimum, with each offer submission, we'll receive an initial packet of all those disclosures. You have the federal lead laws in here as well. There's a page that outlines what's included or excluded with the sale of the property. So things like the dishwasher and the stove typically don't leave.
Okay.
Items like the washer and dryer are kind of a 50-50 type item.
Gotcha.
You'll go through there and just check off the items that are included, and you'll exclude the items that you want to take with you.
Okay.
So I'll send all that paperwork to you through a platform called Dotloop, very similar to DocuSign, some of those other platforms you might have used in the past. You know, as you have any questions about these documents, definitely refer back to that listing paperwork explained, or just call me if that's easier, and I can talk you through whatever it is that you're seeing on the page.
Okay.
Terrific.
All right?
This was a lot of information, but I think I feel better. I think I'm certainly well informed now. So
Awesome.
Very
We'll
clear
get-
and concise.
yeah, we'll get going on what we need to do, and then we could just reach out via cell. Is that
Yeah, exactly. Just via cell. So I'll send a connecting text between me and my listing coordinator and my personal assistant. That way you can get in touch with a lot of people anytime you need to.
Perfect.
I'm in a lot of appointments, in and out, meeting with a lot of clients. So they'll typically handle a lot of the admin functions, but I'm always there to call and help with anything that I need to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
It was so
Absolutely.
nice
Great to meet
you.
you.
Lou, thank you.
Thanks, Art.
Pleasure.